Hi everyone, I'm going to do my first vinyl tag. We all know Andrew at Tales from the Crate has set these things up, and here we go. A discovery. Now, I discovered a lot of stuff last year. You know, almost every time, whenever I found something, and every time you're on YouTube and watching these videos that people are doing, you think you're discovering more. But it was so hard to narrow it down, it really was. There's sort of hundreds of things in a way. But I think one of the big things was perhaps finding that jazz collection, and then finding a whole era of jazz that no one ever talks about, because it tends to be very US centric in the VC. But for 1956 kind of to 1959 UK jazz collection, there was amazing stuff I found. And to come across this sort of stuff, you know, Tubby Hayes and people, and you listening to stuff, you think, wow, you know, Tubby Hayes was incredible. He could really hold his own against any of the players of the day. There's no doubt about it. He just, you know, just opens up a whole new kind of world of interest. So it's been interesting going through these records with Dizzy Reese and just amazing players. So that was a huge discovery, and an area I'd never really heard of before. Quarantine By. You will have seen some of these before, but this is a good excuse just to show this record again. This is In Go and Ring, The Glinting Spade. That amazing cover. Could easily be in some people's favourite covers, you know, just all the time you could take exploring that lovely acid folk record. That, I mean, it is a borderline masterpiece. A record I really want to find, and I've never seen it, is Honeybus Story. Never seen it. I'd also like to come across an original of COB's Moish McStiff and the Tartan Lancers of the Sacred Heart. So if anyone's got one laying around spare and they want to just give it to me, that would be great. A box set. I was going to show a classical one here just to throw some classical in, but I'm showing this again. I showed this way back a few months ago. Poetry and Jazz in Concert. Now, what is fantastic about this is the Michael Garrick Sextet, and you see the players Don Rendell and Ian Carr, and this is 1969, 1970, so, you know, right when they were sounding fantastic, and they sound fantastic. The reason I'm showing it is because I didn't realise until a few weeks ago, I didn't notice, it's actually signed by Michael Garrick. Michael Garrick, Loughborough 73, best wishes. So, yeah, just thought I'd show that again. Now this one is for concept album. This is Dune, Visions of Dune, and it's based on the film Dune, of course. Can it possibly be a concept album when it's all instrumental? Yes, of course it can. And I'm showing another one because it's all instrumental. Apparently there's vocalists on it, but I can't hear. This is Solaris from Martian Chronicles. So both of these are based on big sci-fi things. Great album. About half an hour aside though. So. Anyway, what else are we looking at here? A change of direction. There's so many bands changed direction in the 60s. Went from psychedelia, I was thinking about Traffic and bands like that. But I'm going to go really obvious. I'm going to go Soft Machine. This is for comp 1 and 2. Going to a completely jazz fusion. This is 4th. I haven't listened to that album 30 years, 25 years. Okay. What are we up to? A white label promo. Now, we're being specific here. I've got various promo 12 inches to show, and got lots of singles with I want to be specific to your white label promo. The only white label promo I have, I've got lots of different EPs and singles, but the only LP is, I believe anyway, is Decals, the white label. There you go. I'm not going to bother talking about it, you've seen them all. A compilation. Oh, it's so many. I'm not really a big fan of compilations, but I do occasionally pick them up. This I've had for absolutely donkey's years. This is The Lost Ears, Arthur Brown's Kingdom Come, double album. Almost all of Galactic Zoo dossier there. Tracks from Joy, all the best stuff actually. There's that. I really, really wanted to show this, and I'm going to, just so I can finally get it in. My parents had this when I was a kid, and I think it sounds fantastic. Later on, they got really kind of cheesy and over the top, just banal. But some of our original tracks on here, the production is immense. And even the cover versions, they just sound fantastic. They do actually almost, you can't say make them their own, but yeah, I think it's great. And finally I've got it in, and I'm not ashamed. Okay, tell a story. There's a few that came to mind, but this is Caravan's first, but in 1972 repress. And in about 1991, Caravan kind of did a mini reform, and they went and played, I think it might be 91, maybe a little bit later. They went and played in Old Buckenham High School, which is, and the headmaster there was a friend of ours or something, may have been their original headmaster when they were young. So they thought they'd go and play in this tiny little village hall in the middle of Norfolk. I mean, it's a nightmare to find it the days before sat-nav. But anyway, I took this, and I got it signed by everyone. All 5 members, including Jimmy Hastings, not always considered a member, of course. But it always reminds me of, at the time we were in our 20s, early 20s, and had long hair, and we were throwing ourselves around the floor, like you do, and everyone else was around 40-something, and they're just standing there, looking very pedestrian, a bit like Caravan did themselves on stage. But of course, as you get older, you realise you begin to look like that. But what was interesting, what this always reminds me of, not just the fact that the band members had seen his album for years and was dancing around, and because there were famous people I didn't really clock at the time, people like Kevin Ayers and people were there, and doing my big flailing dance, couldn't see a thing because of head banging and all that. Yeah, head banging to Caravan, but that's how crazy it was. I remember crashing into this guy in a wheelchair. Oh, sorry mate, really sorry, scowling at me, said something. I can't remember exactly what he said. It wasn't until later I realised, oh yeah, that was Robert Wyatt. So I crashed into Robert Wyatt. That's the closest I ever got to him. Never seen him live or anything. But anyway, enough of that. A record I want to see on vinyl pressing. There isn't any. Simple as that. I don't really care. I'm sure probably afterwards I think of something maybe, but I don't really sort of think, oh yeah, I really want to get that on vinyl. Doesn't really, it's nothing at the moment that comes to mind. Common and uncommon. I was going to go down the road of showing one band, Fleetwood Mac, blues crazy hits thing, and then show and play on or something. But you can just show 2 different albums. I'm showing a common album, just to show something a bit different. Royal Blood, a phenomenal album. If you do not know this record, go and listen to it. It's just a bass guitarist and a drummer. But phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. It's like the bass sounds like a guitar, and incredible stuff. It's so powerful. Most of you would probably know that. And an uncommon album. This is a collection, mono UK press on Elektra. that hideous name that Joni Mitchell bestowed upon them. Grotesque. Right, an EP. Anyway, many I could have chosen, but I just flicked through. Oh, well, I like the look of it, just for a bit of fun. Chubby Checker Dancing Party, dancing with himself. No one else was invited, obviously. You know, I've got his Twist EP. This is the follow-up, I believe. Yeah, Let's Twist Again, Slow Twisting, The Fly and Dancing Party. And this is on Cameo Parkway. A girl group. Classic girl groups from the 60s, of course. The Shirelles. This is Motown. Stateside, if you get that the other way. Great stuff. Not my favourite, but some lovely, lovely songs on it. Now then, a cover I really like. There are so many really good covers, and there are so many wonderfully painted artistic covers. But the one that came to mind instantly, and I've just always loved it, I just think, oh, what a gorgeous woman. And I just love the whole picture. Jonah Jones, I Dig Chicks, on the Music for Pleasure label, but just, I just love the whole thing, all of the different style of everything there. The hat, you know, the table paraphernalia, the chairs, everything about that is just classic. Now, an album I've listened to most of now, oh, that's a tough one, but an album I return to a lot is Wolf City, by Alan Dole 2. Just a phenomenal record. I think it's their best. It's the most consistent. People will go, oh, I like Yeti, but it's side one of Yeti just doesn't really kind of gel properly for me. You know, and it's a little bit on side 4. But anyway, this is just concentrated genius all the way through. Just quality, class. And I just play that record a lot. Now, I'm sorry to show the same artist twice, but this particular question, a record I had to have an original of. Those records I kind of buy are original anyway, but one that I had to have, and I suppose I'm less bothered about these things in a way nowadays, but for a long time I had to have his record above all other records because I'd only had a 70s reissue for a long time. And, you know, it's the same as Andrew, and it's going to be shown again, I'm afraid, people. But this, I had to have the original. This is an original UK. I do not have the original US. I still have one album I really would like to get is the mono Safe as Milk, the original copy of that. It's hard to come by, especially over here. You can get a mono repress, but with 2 tracks missing, but I'd love to find that. So if anyone's got that and they want to throw it my way, you know, I've got a spare £5, you know, I don't mind passing that over. That would be wonderful. But yeah, what can you say? It's not US, so in this country it didn't come with the leaflet, the booklet. So, well, what can you do? The last album I bought was a compilation, which I kind of regretted almost instantly. Because I don't know, I just kind of don't always listen to it, but there's a lot of good stuff on it. It's only arrived yesterday. I bought it about 3 weeks ago, but post has been terrible. Anyway, there you go. Strain, Crack and Break. People have seen it before. Music from the Nurse with Wound List Volume 1. Volumes 2 and 3 perhaps are coming out this year, but there's the artists. 1 or 2 kind of obvious choices. But there's some really good stuff on here. You know, obviously it hasn't been opened, but I have sampled it. I managed to get this really cheap, so I was like, I'm having it. Thank you very much. An album they don't get. Now, tough question in some ways. But I'm going down the Deep Purple route. A band that when I was growing up I really loved, you know, they just someone I just collected everything by, and just something about the sound I liked. This is Who Do We Think We Are? Again, a lovely cover. This is the original, but it's an album that people kind of just, in the Discog, the Deep Purple canon, people kind of overlook and kind of, it gets frowned upon somewhat, and I don't know why. It's got Woman from Tokyo, which, you know, is a great track actually. You know, it's one of those you've perhaps heard too many times. But for me, there's some quality stuff on here. I think they just you see, I'm finding it hard to speak. For me, these tracks, Super Trooper, it's like a real sort of phase psychedelic sort of number. Wonderful stuff. Our Lady is just, I mean, some people will completely disagree, but then, you know, this is the whole point of shining in this question. I think that is a stunning piece of music. It's a wonderful thing. It's kind of exultant in some ways. It's not hard rock at all. It's cool. Yeah, it's like it's that sort of, I've used this word before, but it has a soaring kind of quality and a lovely track. You know, the other stuff is a bit more Purple-esque, if you like, but just, I think it's a great record and just gets overlooked. A punk album. Oh, this was hard to choose, but I thought I'd go for one which has got the least punk cover you've ever seen in your life. Pete and the Test Tube Babies, The Mating Sounds of South American Frogs. The least punk title. There they are. And here's the, you know. This says, this album is dedicated to all frogs everywhere, especially those currently being held as political prisoners under a fascist regime. And finally, a 2020 reissue, and I haven't bought any 2020 reissues. I bought about 7 new records last year, and nearly all sort of second-hand originals or whatever. And I thought, oh, hold on a second. I actually bought a 2020 reissue. Which I've shown before. Mice and Rats in the Loft by Jean Dukes de Grey. Phenomenal, psychedelic, acid, sort of folkish prog album. Folky, proggy, wonderful stuff. We like an original, and again, same thing applies. Anyway, thanks for that, and thank you very much, Andrew. And hopefully that would have been slightly enjoyable for at least a couple of you. See you all later. Bye.